What's up, y'all? Y'all are listening to Living Corporate's flagship podcast. If you didn't know, Living Corporate helps organizations build employee engagement and market trust through data analytics and data transformation, our e-learning platform, and brand marketing storytelling. We're so excited for you to be here today. The conversation you're about to hear is going to connect the dots between employee experience and go-to-market effectiveness. If you're not ready, get ready. Here we go. Nicaila Matthews Okome.
I like you. You put that flavor
I
on there.
I put that thing on there. Yeah. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. It is so nice to be here.
Hey, it's a pleasure to have you back after all these years.
Oh my God, I can't even believe how many years it's been.
It's been so long. It's been so long.
Wow.
So much new life.
Comes at you so fast. So much life has happened.
So much life has happened. You know, I'm thinking about, first of all, for those who don't know, Nicaila Matthews Okome is so many different things. Entrepreneur, speaker, enterprising, incredible person, wife, mother, corporate 9-to-5er, media expert, former 9-to-5er. We'll talk. Amen.
Yes, amen.
And then media expert, and then also I would say like just like an incredible mind when it comes to B2C strategy, marketing, and storytelling. And so, you know, I really just want to like take the time to thank you for all the work that you have done in this space of media and content creation, podcasting more specifically.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's really dope. You know, I remember when Living Corporate first got started, and this is when like Living Corporate, we had like 5 co-founders, and they got up out of here because I'm just too much. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Well, first of all, 5 co-founders was too much.
It was too much. It was too much. It was too much on both sides. It was too much. I was too much. So people said, hey, enough is enough. But I remember one of our co-founders was like, hey, this Side Hustle Pro thing, we should like sign up for this, help us learn how to grow our pod, grow and monetize our pod, et cetera, et cetera. And I just remember us taking the course, and beyond taking the course, I recall really like just falling into and then eventually falling into love with the manner in which you presented information and you demonstrated value. You know what? But I'm like in this, like, even as I'm talking in real time, Nicaila, like, I'm like,
yeah,
I'm struggling because I'm like, where do we want to start? I don't really want to like have a conversation necessarily about the technicals of podcast monetization. I really want to talk about this concept of side hustling, right? Because for those who don't know, you have a podcast called Side Hustle Pro, but beyond like the name of the podcast, like I believe that you represent the reality that so many people in today's landscape are side hustling. Talk to me a bit about like your journey into like even determining that that the Side Hustle Pro podcast if you wanted to do, because I know that you did the corporate thing, you did the MBA thing, right? So you did all the things that they tell you to do.
Checked all the boxes.
And yet you still, you're here. So like, walk me through that.
Yeah, of course. I'm so glad you said that. I want to take it back to, I want to have a real conversation. And you're right. I did all the things. So my journey to side hustling and starting Side Hustle Pro, the platform, starts with wanting to fit in, realizing that I'm never going to fit in, rejection, and decided I'm over this. That is the arc in a nutshell. So, like you said, I did all the things. Grew up in the Bronx. I'm originally from Jamaica. Grew up in the Bronx. Parents were, brought us here for education, right? Really stressed that. So me and my sisters, throughout our life, we were just all about our books, super into my education and nerdy kid in class. So I went to undergrad at UPenn, studied communications. Always had like an interest in media. From there, dibbled and dabbled in marketing, social media, the world of entertainment. Like I started my first internship was at HBO, so that was a cool experience. And I thought, all right, I like this world, but I don't really know where I should spend the most time in. So after a few years out of undergrad, like most people, hit that mid-20s crisis, like, still don't know what to do with my life. Wait a second, I thought they said I was going to know what to do with my life. So I ended up going back to get my MBA from the University of Michigan, which was an awesome experience. Met your cuz, right? And had just some amazing, life changing, perspective shifting moments. So during that internship, you intern between your first and second year. I interned at Google out in Mountain View. Again, I thought like, okay, this is gonna be the move for me. Like Google, I gotta stay here. It's the best company ever. Turns out that I didn't get the full-time offer. And so once again, I was faced with, well, what am I going to do with my life? And all this time I had just been kind of going with the flow, defaulting like, all right, I got this internship, cool, this is what I should do with my life. Like most people, you just kind of do like okay, I'm in education, or I'm getting my education, people say I'm good at this, okay, I'm going to major in this, all right, I'm going to get a job in this. A lot of us are just being swept along, like we're just cruising down a river, and we're not really stopping to check in on what do I really want. So that Google rejection was actually, I didn't know it at the time, but it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because it was a wake up call for me to have to face myself and say, well, what do I really want to do? So I graduated from my MBA program with no job, moved back to DC at the time to live with my then boyfriend, now husband, and asked myself those questions, right? And I started asking my friends those questions as well. Was like, what am I good at? Where do you really see me shine? All those kind of starter questions, and decided to start doing my own thing. And that's where my side hustle originally started. I picked back up blogging. I started to write about things that interest me, and it slowly led me to what I'm really passionate about, which is sharing the stories of Black women entrepreneurs, period, who have scaled from side hustle to profitable business, who started their own thing and are doing it, because that's where I really want to see us shine and thrive.
You know, first of all, thank you for sharing that. I think when I think about like the landscape of work, and I talk to so many black women, and I feel like so many of them have like a like a really a common trajectory, or like a
Mm-hmm.
shared trajectory. When I say common, a shared trajectory, where it's, and I think this is black people in general,
Yeah.
to be clear, but I certainly see it in black women. But it's like, okay, it's when I think about, I'm talking about like high perform, quote unquote high performing,
Mm-hmm.
like ambitious black talent, right? So black
Yep.
and brown talent. It's okay. I'm gonna go get my undergrad. I'm
Yep.
going to I'm going to apply it to as many legacy brands as possible.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna do this. Okay, I realize that I can't really outperform white supremacy. Okay, let me go.
And I love how your sound bites, your nuggets, you always just know how to encapsulate in words exactly what we're trying to do.
This is what we trying to do. Okay, well, I'm gonna come up here. I remember, no, look, Nicaila, I remember because I stopped code switching. Like, so Joe, my brother-in-law Joe, and then like
Uh-huh.
other family members, we had this
Bro, I
conversation.
always call him your cousin. I'm sorry.
It's
We're all
okay.
cousins.
It's,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, we're all relatives. So,
Right,
but
right.
here's the thing: is like I remember putting code switching down, like because, and it was after. Um, so I was working in an oil and gas company. I was a contractor, and I was doing
Okay.
the best I could to like pivot from a contractor to a full time salary person. In my mind, a salary position was the promised land because I would get benefits.
Right.
I was 22 at the time, or 23, because I graduated college a little early, so I was like 22. And
Okay.
so I remember like I was like really, and so I'd show up. I was wearing blazers and slacks, dress shoes. I was like being quiet. I mean, like I would speak when spoken to. Yes, sir. No, sir. I'm shuffling out the way. I'm making myself as small as possible for the
Yes.
comfort of these people,
Ooh, that's another one. Making ourselves small. Ooh.
making myself
Hmm.
small as possible, in the spirit of in with the goal of creating a culture of comfort for these people that I had empowered to have power over me, right? And so,
Hello. Ooh, I didn't know this was going to be a sermon today. I did not know I had to take that line as well because that's also what I was doing. I was empowering them to have power over me.
that's and so, but watch this. So then, like, so this is the time me and Candace we're engaged at this point. We're not even married yet, and because I had saved up my money, I was living like crazy. Like I was using like baking soda to brush my teeth and clean everything. I was eating out of the the break room. So even though I was making like 66,000, I saved like 40 something $1,000 in like 16 months, right? So
Wow.
so I used that money to buy a house. So on a contract, as a contract, I bought a house and we got married and blah blah blah. And they knew all of that, and they still cut my contract and didn't get me and did not extend me full time. And then I found out later there were people there who were like actively rooting against me. They were like, I know that anytime I see Zach's name come up to get a full-time job, I say the worst things possible about him. I found out about that later. What's that lady name? I wish my 100-some thousand people, if I remember, I would say their name. Let me pause it. I'm going to punch the name and I'll play. I'm not going to say their name. You know who I'm talking about. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy though how people can just be conspiring against you? And that's the thing that you realize when you're on this journey enough. Listen, I've been working in corporate since I was 16. My
Right.
first job was at HBO. I have been in these spaces and they all look the same, right? No matter what, you're doing your best, but at some point you'll come up upon a barrier in your way, and it'll be some person who for no reason whatsoever, they don't like the way you walk, they don't like how your mouth curls when you
Right.
talk, and
Right.
they're just like, I don't want to see her win, and that's it. And in any room where your name comes up, they're gonna be throwing dirt on your name, and then you can circumvent that a lot because you might have a sponsor, like they say, to get, or people who will be working to advocate for you against that person, but then you'll come up on the next one. And it's just a constant game of that through these corporate spaces. And you have to decide the best environment where you can mitigate it. You have to decide what's best for you ultimately, but just know that this is going to be the environment everywhere. Sorry. I wish I was more optimistic about it. Yeah.
Well, it's just the reality. By the way, her name is Sarah Ariza. Y'all thought I wasn't gonna say
Sarah.
her name. It's my podcast. I don't care.
I love it. Oh God.
And I remember because she worked at Energy Transfer now, and I remember.
I don't be saying names, but I'll be like my boss when I was at Nickelodeon. I say stuff like that, like when I worked at MTV.
But no, I love that. But here's the thing: I'm gonna start letting the chopper spray respectfully because this is it's crazy outside. Like, but yeah, I remember. But I ran into Sarah again when I was at PwC. Because I ended up working on a project at the company she moved to, and she saw me in the break room, and she goes, "Oh," and I said, "Yeah." I said, "How are you doing?" And she said, "Oh, do you work here?" I said, "No, I work at PricewaterhouseCoopers now. I'm a consultant on this project." Oh, I didn't. I said, "Yeah." Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We was in that lunchroom, real awkward. I looked at her. I said, "Yeah, I'm here." I said, "You're gonna see me around here a lot." And she was like, "Okay." I said, "All right." I said, "I'm sure I'll see you around again."
Yep.
I said, I'm talking to all these executives. Like, I talk every day. And so, like, I think what I realized is that, going back to what I said about just not being able to outperform white supremacy, I think like we have this we have this idea that if we conjugate our verbs well enough, if we speak the King's English, if we pull our pants up high enough, if we have the right certificates, if we have the right degrees, if our hair is a certain way, if we are a certain weight, if we are all these different things, then white people who inherently do not like us will somehow forget that we are black and accept us. And it's like, no, you're still a nigga.
Okay.
Yeah. That's like that Michelle Obama when what's her name? And it's like the only role people be making fun of her for.
Viola.
Viola, a nigga.
I didn't even watch that.
Oh no, I watched the clip. I watched the clip and I felt so. I was like, oh no.
I watched the clip and I said, Viola, I cannot believe this. But
I also
what you were saying though, yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Real quick, because I also feel like, you got to set people up for success. Y'all know when she did that, somebody could have said, "Hey," in post, right?
I don't understand how she did it. But that just goes to show all of us have blind spots. Like
even the goats have blind spots.
She was
right?
like, "Oh, I got this impression. Even the goats have blind spot." But also, and this is another tangent, because I started out my career working in entertainment. Right, I went from HBO to MTV Networks, Nickelodeon, which was a part of MTV Networks, and then dibbled and dabbled. But what I noticed, because there's this clip going around as we're recording this of what's her name, Doechii, is that how you pronounce it? Going to New York Fashion Week or sorry, the Met Gala, and like going crazy, just talking to people crazy. I guess because she was like stressed out or whatever. And
yes, I saw. Yes.
Yeah, it sounds crazy, right? But what I realize is, in that world, that's how people are. They're so siloed and separated from reality that's what people start acting like, because everyone around them acts like that, and it's so normalized to them. And not to excuse it whatsoever, because I had to get out of that world, because I was like, can y'all touch grass for a second? Like, why are you screaming at me about a wrinkle in someone's trench coat? Like, it was just insane, the disconnect from like real world that they have.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, that tracks, because that's how they get.
But corporate and corporate does that, right? Like, it's so weird. So me and my business partner, we both exited the corporate space at the same time, like to focus on living corporate full time. Well, because he was part time, and then he jumped in living corporate full time.
Yeah.
And so we both, like, we have clients, just the work that we're doing, and even just some of our friends who are still, like, of course, like in the 9-to-5 space. When you step away from it for a while, and then you like lean back and you look into it outside looking in, even as a contractor or talking to your friends, you realize like, oh man, that is not good. Or like, like man, like this the way that y'all are thinking about these problems, they're just so corporate, and it's so it's limiting, and there's a lot of like there's a lot of fear baked into it, and uncertainty, and deception, and it's just like but to your point, it's like in that environment, it all, not only does it feel normal, but but almost some of that behavior almost feels virtuous, right? Like being selfish or being myopic or being
it's rewarded and praised as, oh, that person is, a hustler. They get it. They're serious, right? They're serious about, they take it seriously.
And I think what my thing about when it comes to like the intersection of racism and sexism and homophobia and like all these different isms and phobia, like the intersection of that and like a capitalist context is that I feel like those who are uber successful in corporate, they in some degree, shape or form are stepping on those on the margins in some way. Like, I've yet to meet a senior person, and I've certainly yet to see it, like when I was in corporate America, let's say someone who kind of rose the ranks, the ladder of success in corporate America, the rungs are people, right? And so like, and I think I don't know. I think there's like literally one person. I can think of like literally one person, and I'm confident there are more, right? But I think these people are outliers who like make it to the VP level, make it to the president level, and have no bodies. They have no trail. They have like where everybody says something kind or warm about them, right? The person I think about who's like exemplifies that the most to me is Marty Rogers. He's a senior leader at Accenture, right?
Okay. Like,
he's somebody like, I'm like, wow, like I feel like this man has walked on ice his whole career and didn't slip one time, right? But like that's very rare. Like oftentimes, these environments, they're built, I think they're built with individualism in mind. And so it's dog eat dog, it's scarcity. It's there's only so many slices of this pie and you better eat as much as you can. Too bad if you don't get it, whatever. Yeah. I think, and so when I think about this landscape and I think about Side Hustle Pro and the concept of side hustle, I mean, it's crazy because even like side hustle, quote unquote, that's like old now. Like, not saying you're old, not saying Side Hustle Pro, the brand is old. I'm saying like that's like the norm now. You know what I mean? Like let's say like maybe 10 years ago, oh, you gotta get a little side hustle, figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Now it's like, nah, you need a second full-time job.
Yes.
Talk to me about what you're seeing.
What I'm seeing is, for sure, I'm seeing a lot of layoffs happening, as I'm sure we're all seeing. And I'm seeing this need now to, this wake-up call, like, oh, wait, I need something that I can do for a buck, just in case this XYZ falls through or I lose my job. So I'm seeing that. And I'm seeing also more normalizing around people having passions outside of work, and employers realizing they need to make space for that, or either they're just not going to find many employees who aren't also doing something else, who they may be an influencer, they may have a following on one of the social media platforms, and you can't dock them for that, because then who are you going to hire? Like, this is the culture, this is who is coming up into the workplace. So I'm seeing that as well. And then as far as the economy and what people are dealing with, we know that there's a very small percentage of people who get to wake up in life and not think about money. For everyone else, money is top of mind. And that means, all right, like, what can I do for some passive income? What can I do while I'm still working my full time? And how can I grow this business in earnest? Or, okay, I do want to get off the hamster wheel of corporate, but I'm not trying to leave my good job, because I know the times I'm in, I know how lucky I am to have a good job. So, all right, what can I do on the side that I can start working on so that eventually I can leave? I'm seeing all of that.
I think that we're in this really weird space in the world of work where employees have higher and they have the most complex needs ever in terms of self-realization, actualization, fulfillment, while also like needing to like make more money to live.
Yes.
So like there's this, but then there's like this corporate pressure of, hey, we ain't trying to pay y'all nothing. You know what I'm
saying? Has that ever changed?
No, that's a good point. Maybe perhaps it hasn't, but it feels the tension feels more naked now than it has to me in the past, right? So like, let me think about. So I graduated in 2011. So I entered the workforce in 2011.
Okay.
I feel like and again, I know I also recognize the economic landscape was different. Yes. But like what I'm saying is like this idea of just like constant layoffs, to your point, the normalization of layoffs as a business lever to maximize shareholder value and return quarter to quarter, I believe is just at an all-time high. And so then like we're also seeing, to your point about layoffs, and like just we're seeing like this compression of people investment.
Yeah.
But people right now are in dire need and demand of investment. Like we're seeing people say, wait, they like, irrespective of what the landscape is saying, people are like, hey, no, I still need investment. Like,
yeah.
And so like, I feel like we're just, I don't even know if to say I feel like we're past the breaking point. You know what I mean? Like, what are we going to do? Cause like, this is not sustainable. Well, off mic, we were kind of talking about like, there's all type, and I'm not snitching on nobody, cause salute. Hey, yo, if you can work 8 jobs, and you Jamaican, your people from Jamaica, you know what I'm talking about. You work 8 jobs.
I'm Jamaican.
You Jamaican.
it's listen, we love a hustle, and so sometimes when I'm like, originally I'd be like, where did this spirit come from? Well, duh. My people have always been about like the hustle, and now I think people need to be, first of all, really tapped in to your skills and your strengths, and stop overlooking stuff. There are things that you do well. So, number one, hone in and tap into your strengths, but also invest in yourself, develop those. If you can get some of those corporate dollars to pay for a course, to pay for something, and finagle it to seem like a bonus to the company, do that. One
Hmm.
of my awesome podcast coaching clients, she started out, she's now a full time um, corporate, what do they call it, she's now a full-time executive coach, but also just an amazing life coach and dynamic woman. And when she started her journey, she recently shared in this newsletter how first she was in corporate and she did a executive certification because she was in the people ops space, and so they paid for that. And at that point she wasn't thinking of going off and being an executive coach and working for herself, but she was still in that space of, all right, this is a strength, people always tell me this, like, I know I am good at this. Let me start investing more in this area. And since I'm in human resources or whatever, it makes sense for them to pay for me to get this coaching. So start looking around at what you're going to need in the future.
Listen,
Really get clear.
whatever it is you can get from these companies, right? Especially right now, where
Hmm.
because they putting in new CFOs, they counting the mints in the weight room. Okay,
Even if it's time, if you get time, and you do that work week where one Friday, every 2 weeks you're off, like, take that time and put it into something else. I know you
yeah,
need to rest. Okay. I am team rest too. So sometimes you need that for rejuvenation, but
real talk.
take what you can from these companies.
Listen, yeah, it's just a really interesting time. I mean, look, I'm gonna tell you, folks who haven't checked out the newsletter recently,
Yeah.
I got these two new babies with these
Oh,
twins.
yes.
So I'm over here like man, do I need to go get a pedicure, start selling pictures of my feet? Like, what do I gotta do? So I got
OnlyFans is always going to be
only
there.
feats. I gotta figure it out. And you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but no, but it's just I think this is definitely the moment in the season. If you are not privileged enough to have large cash reserves or whatever the case may be, like, maximize the opportunity that you have. And I think though, like, let me ask you this, right? Because you're only a little bit older than me. Um, at the same time, I ain't gonna discount them years because you have still seen more. There's a duality there.
Listen,
Uh,
I'm still youthful.
you're
You're
still
making
youthful.
me sound
No,
like an ancient. Yes, yes.
respect. No, like,
No,
we know.
but
No, no, no. I'm not.
where
I'm not
where
calling
where
you
are
like
we
a
going with
sage.
this?
Yeah, no, 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 no. Let's keep it clear. No, no, no.
Yes, yes.
What I'm curious about is, like, where do you, if you do it all, see
Mhm.
like a breaking or snapping point with like the land, like the state of employee experience today? Because like I don't know, right? Like, because even as we have this conversation about and I agree with you, to be clear, find more time, figure out, hey, look at self assessment and self awareness is important to know what you're good at. Pick up an additional thing, see what you can extract from your company as they extract labor from you. Those are all
Right.
good. Those are all real things.
Mhm.
At the same time, I struggle with like this constant, like, and this is not this, and this is where it's like, you're right. I'm also like, when I think about it systemically, I'm like, dang, we also exist in this system though right now where it's almost like if we're not productive, what value are we, right? And
Mhm.
so like, if there's like this internal pressure, I think we have intention to constant, but it's like we also need it to survive. So to me, I'm kind of like, dang, what what if anything do you think can shift and change so that the stakes don't feel as high and the pressure isn't all the way up to our neck
So, what can change for us, or what can change for these companies?
for these companies?
Ooh, you know, that is an area. I would be lying if I said I knew the answer to that. I think we're all trying to figure out what's going to happen next, because what's unique about this time, it's not just like, oh, we are seeing a shift in the economy and we don't know why. What's unique about this time is we have a very unpredictable person in the White House. And so the moves that these companies are making in reaction out of fear, out of what could happen to them, it's a unique external factor that is heightened in a way that it hasn't been before. Of course, they were always concerned about, what will happen? Will this affect our shareholders and blah, blah, blah. Of course, they always had to assess those dynamics of the economic landscape. But now they're like also trying to please a person who is irrational, unpredictable, not mentally sound. And so that piece of it makes it hard to really understand what's going to happen. You look at a company like Target, right?
Right.
Everything that's happening. I mean, that it's just crazy what's going on there. So it's like they created this unnecessary domino effect by deciding to come out with this declaration because they're trying to please that guy. Now they got everybody boycotting them. And so they can't even, I'm sure in their minds, not in their minds, but I'm sure employee dynamics is the last thing on their minds, right? Like
Mm.
they are trying to put out a fire. And so when you think about things like that, I'm just like, I'm not, we're all waking up each day wondering what's going to
What's
happen
going
next.
on?
What's going on and what's going to happen next.
No, that you're so right. Like the chaos, the chaos is in the uncertainty, right?
Hmm.
I was thinking about one of my passive hobbies
Hmm.
is, and I think because got a tinge of that insomnia. Okay,
Okay,
so
okay.
I get so excited sometimes. It'll be like 11:30 at night.
Wow.
My phone is fully charged, and I'm like, oh, YouTube, because YouTube is so dope. Right? There's trillions of videos, anything you can watch,
Yes,
and so
anything.
anything, and so I watch a lot of people play video games, and
Hmm.
there's this type of um, video game mode, I guess you could call, which is like randomizer. And so like you play,
Okay.
let's say you might play a game, you play a game and let's say you're playing, I don't know, Mario, and
Hmm.
typically on World 1, Super Mario 3, you hit the block, a mushroom pops out. Well, like in randomizer mode, maybe like, I don't know, a bomb pops out, right? And the point
Oh.
is for it to be random and it's super chaotic, but it keeps you on your toes because you don't know what's coming next. And that's kind of how I feel right now. It's
Ooh.
like, dang,
Yeah.
I would have expected this to happen. Oh, that's
Hmm.
random. That's not,
Yeah.
I didn't even think that could potentially happen, right?
I didn't even
Eh,
think someone could think to have a problem with that
right,
and,
right.
try to outlaw it.
So I hear you, and I think that it's super fair. It's super fair to really interrogate, okay, employees, full time hustlers and side hustlers, or aspiring side hustlers alike.
Hmm.
What can you control and what can you do, and what does that
Yes.
look like over the next
Yes.
12?
Exactly. That's where I like to live and exist. Like, okay, what can I control and what can I do? And I even think back to, okay, when I was working full time, what can I control? At the time when I didn't have kids, especially, I could control what time I wake up, what time I go to bed. I could control what I do on my phone and how long I'm on my phone. I can explore, I can control what I choose to do with my lunch hour, with my morning hours, with my evening hours. Those were my side hustle hours, or at least those were hours that I looked at as me time. Where do I want to put my side hustle in there? So, speaking of productivity, a big part of my productivity was rest. So, I wasn't trying to squeeze um, doing something with my side hustle into all of those hours, but I knew like, okay, these are options. Do I want to wake up early tomorrow or do I want to do it on my lunch break? Do I want to do it in the evening? And when I started to look at my hours that way, then I would say, all right, this week I'm not going to do happy hour because I want to use that time as my side hustle time. So that's something I can control. I can control also what I choose to believe, right? Like, so yeah, these are unpredictable times. If I think like, all right, it's unpredictable, it's doom and gloom, nothing good can come to in our life again, then yeah, that's gonna be a pretty depressing existence. But I can choose to believe that, you know what, it's going to get better. Things are going to get better. Things are going to work out somehow. And for all of those who are going through hard times with money, especially, I want to pour that into you that it has to stop raining at some time. The sun will come out again. It has to get better. So you can really choose to work on your mindset. And as an entrepreneur, that's a place I've poured a ton of energy into over the last few years because that that is everything. If my mindset is poor, then I can't show up, which I'm a podcaster and content creator, so I have to show up, right? So if
Hmm.
I don't control my mindset and I'm in a bad mood, then I can't show up online, then I can't earn money for my family, then my kids can't thrive, you know? So it's like this ripple effect that starts with my mind. So those are two things. Focus on what you can do with your time, what you can how you can spend time on your phone and your mindset. And the phone piece I want to touch on too, because these companies, especially as someone who needs the phone for her livelihood, really pay attention to what these companies are doing and how they want us to be hooked into a cycle of nothingness. All right. Use these companies, use these platforms. Don't let them use you. Do not be up here at 1 a.m. scrolling, watching nonsense. Honestly, it's like what I have to remind myself, like, make content, use these platforms, limit how much I'm consuming. Like, I don't need to know how the party for her grandmother went. I don't need to watch every single slide of her story to know how, her vacation went.
Real
Why?
talk
Why do I
though.
need to know how
Yeah.
the vacation of my own college
At a
classmate who
certain
I don't
point,
talk to
put the
went?
phone up,
Put
turn
the
it
phone
over,
down.
put it down.
You don't need to know.
Listen, I no, I 100% agree. You know, you start talking about what
Yeah.
you're gonna believe, and I was trying to
Yeah.
pull out my little hoop track. You know what I'm saying? With people,
Hey.
but you're right though, and like this. What I love about what I love about like so much of your work,
Hmm.
and honestly, and going back to like how I was introduced to you is the degree of self awareness and assessment that you call on individuals to have, right? And I think that's so
Hmm.
critical for employees. And I do believe that, like, in this landscape, now more than ever, like,
Hmm.
understanding where your strengths are, what it is you want to do, where your
Yes.
boundaries are, and what you're trying to achieve, even now, right? Even as things
Yep.
seem dire and bleak and random and chaotic, which all they're not, they all are. Um,
All multiple things can be true at
Multiple
the
things can
same
be
time.
true, right? At the same time, however, like what responsibility and what are you going to carry and do about it? Because you still are
Hmm.
waking up by the grace of God every day. So,
Yes.
what you going to do with them 24 hours, right? And this is not a pull yourself up by your bootstraps thing either, because I don't know, y'all can go to some other podcast for that. It is a reality conversation of you got to wake up with you every day. And so, what are you going to do as you navigate these things? I I like to think about things systemically, but that doesn't mean that I also don't realize, like, irrespective of what's happening in the White House or even like downtown Houston,
Hmm.
or at the state capitol, that I have these children to raise, I have a company to build, I have relationships to nourish, I have a wife relationship to support, right? So I have all types of things that I got to do, and so I got to
Hmm.
make decisions on what that looks like for me every day.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Nicaila, look, I feel like we could go on forever. First of all, I want to thank you again for being on Living Corporate. It's been a pleasure.
Yes.
It's always a pleasure. Um, where first, so my last two questions, and I'll let you go. Is what are you excited about right now from a project perspective or
Ooh.
camp, whatever you got going on, as well
Hmm.
as where can people learn more about you and where can people work with you?
Oh, yes. So I am from a project perspective. I'm excited about a couple of things. And the first is because of the time that we're in, I'm excited to help people start, aka figure out what your side hustle should be. I've gone back to really packaging the info that helped me get started, starting with the questions that I use. So if you go over to sidehustlepro.co/starter, you will get the freebie with the questions that I use that I was asking myself, I was sending to people to helped me figure out, all right, what can I do? Because I was not getting any jobs. I was unemployed, and I was like, what can I start doing on my own? Where, like, what am I good at? And, you know, I was in a really low spot too. Like, I really, when you get rejection after rejection, you just start feeling like you're not good at anything. So if you're in that space, or even if you're not, but you're working somewhere and you're not sure what could be the pivot, then just go over to sidehustlepro.co/starter and you will find those questions. Again, it's free. And I'm just excited about helping people start. I started going back to that space again because I had some girlfriends reach out to me and I'm looking at them like, you could do a million things. Like, I listed off like three things right there because I'm seeing them right from the outside looking in. And when it's you, sometimes you just don't see yourself like that anymore when you're burnt out. So start with those questions. First of all, I'm very excited about that. I'm excited to be a eternal side hustler, and I'm working on some faceless YouTube side hustles. I'll
Come
let
on.
y'all know. I always say when it takes off, there will be signs, even before I give y'all an update.
Hmm.
So stay tuned for that. And you guys can always connect with me over on Instagram at Side Hustle Pro. My website is sidehustlepro.co. And wherever you get your social media content, I'm Side Hustle Pro everywhere.
Come on now. Look, it's Nicaila Matthews Okome. All sorts of dope things. You know what I'm saying? Y'all heard the top of the pod, and I am about to step on all her plugs. Make sure you click the links in the show notes to learn more about
Yes.
Nicaila Matthews Okome.
And did I answer all? I feel like there was a second question. Did I answer the second one?
No. I said, where can
You
people
said I
work with
was
you at?
excited about. Oh, yeah, and that's where you can work with me. And if you want to start your own podcast and you're not sure where to start, I do have group coaching. I have one-on-one coaching. So definitely let's talk. You can find out more about that at sidehustlepro.co/podcast, or just send me an email, hi@sidehustlepro.co, and we can work together.
And this is not an ad. Nicaila is a phenomenal coach. Okay, you would be blessed to make her wait list to work with her. So make sure y'all check her out. Nah, because real talk, a lot of these coaches be out here scamming. So I appreciate
that is real talk. Oh God! And yes, I'm the real deal. If I do say it myself,
I think
yes.
what and man, so like not I'm gonna amplify the plug is like on a real talk on the coaching thing is, and I think we've talked about this off mic, is I get self-conscious about offering coaching because I feel like a lot of people who coach, if you go and you ask or see what they've really done, there's really nothing behind the curtain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like you are one of, I would, again, when I think about like a true coach, an elite coach is,
wow.
I can say, no, Nicaila's actually built something tangible. Like I can see this. And like, let's just say, well, you wouldn't do it like that. Yeah. But she has something real. And as opposed to something theoretical or a bunch of fluffed up stuff. And so so that's why I genuinely,
I thank you for that.
I can't recommend you hire. I can't recommend you enough because we can stand back and look and say, well, no, it worked over here. So she knows what she's talking about. Cause I've early in the podcast days, maybe the next time I'm on your pod, we'll talk about it. Early in my podcast days, I had some quote unquote coaches on there later. And then I saw them on some type of scam or expose thing and I felt silly.
Early in the podcast days, it was really hard to avoid those people. And, but yeah, we could talk offline about that. But thank you. You're right. I take coaching very seriously. And, I too, I understand, there's so much I could say here, but I take it very seriously and I really am invested in seeing people win and their success. And I'm very passionate about people making money off of podcasting. Like I don't like to see people just like out here investing all this money into content and making episodes and clips and paying expensive editors and buying and getting expensive sets before they're making any money. It's like no. Let's sit down and make sure you have a plan for revenue, because it can really spiral into a very expensive hobby if you don't make a plan.
Nicaila, thank you. We will talk to you soon. Till next time,
soon.
y'all. Peace.
Thank you. Bye.
Living Corporate is a podcast by Living Corporate LLC. Our logo was designed by David Dawkins. Our theme music was produced by Ken Brown. Additional music production by Antoine Franklin for Musical Elevation. Post-production is handled by Jeremy Jackson. Got a topic suggestion? Email us at livingcorporatepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us online on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and living-corporate.com. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned.